We're live now. You gotta say it now.
We'll do it live.
Oh man. Well, let's see how many people we can pull in here while we're waiting for Michael.
Dude, Michael needs to get over here so we can start talking, dude.
Seriously, dude.
I wish we had some people in the chat who could go and pester him. That would be great.
That would be awesome. We need people in the chat ASAP. ASAP Rocky. Get it? Get it?
Look at him. Look at him go.
Get it? Get it?
Uh-oh.
Whoa.
Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Drew has dropped out of the show, everybody. You're left with me if you're in the chat, which is okay. I can do this. I can talk us through this movie. Drew's back, though.
Yeah, all by yourself.
Yeah. Drew, where'd you go?
I disappeared into the foggy mists of Philly.
Oh man, I hate when that happens. Or I love when that happens.
You know, it's like it's basically Silent Hill in real life, honestly.
Dude, could you imagine?
That'd be sick.
Man, I truly like. I think Thursday I'm gonna, if I have time, I don't know if I will, but if I have time, I'm gonna try to get in. Jack's here.
You do be. You're gonna do what on Thursday?
I'm gonna try to get in Rocky 2 viewing on Thursday.
Yes, I may do the same.
Because, yeah, when this movie ended, I'm like, it's time for the next one. Like, let's get that next one on. You know, why are we taking so long?
Curry, you said first, but you actually second. Get wrecked.
Yeah, for some reason, Jack's comment isn't showing up on my YouTube, but Curry's is. But now Jack's is. So
interesting.
Oh well. Maybe they wanted to filter Jack's filthy profanity.
That actually probably is why. It's okay though. I put it up on the screen.
Yeah. YouTube is not going to get in our way.
Look who decided to finally show up. No, I'm just kidding.
Hello, boys.
Mike Wazowski.
You didn't turn in your paperwork.
Again.
Sorry, y'all.
Curry, yes. I shaved. I shaved Curry. No haircut, but I did shave.
Well, you did cut hair. Boy, that was a lot of quiet.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Mickey.
Is that the Mandalorian?
I've always said that part in The Mandalorian sounds like Rocky.
It really does.
Yep. Dude, the Mando score slaps. It really
slaps.
does.
But like, there's that main part in The Mandalorian, but then there's like halfway through the main track where it just takes off into Rocky territory. Yeah. It's like, yeah, dude.
They got Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Ludwig.
Wow, great. Yeah,
Ludwig worked on Creed, so it just
that's a good point.
It all makes sense.
It makes sense.
The Mando is actually just it's a creed, or not a creed. It's a
creed.
Rocky. It's a creed. It does have a Mando creed. Yeah,
There you go.
it's a Rocky.
And this is
sequel.
how you tie the Star Wars universe in with the Rocky universe.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Well, we're all here now.
We are all here now. Let's go ahead and do our little intro. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Banter Fodder podcast. I'm your host, Drew, joined by my co-hosts Michael Hoover Dam and Jimmy Jam, the Walker, Texas Ranger man. And also Adrian. Adrian.
Yo.
Yo, Adrian.
And we got Curry and Jack in the audience, along with some other people who haven't commented yet. If you're in the audience, tell us what you think about Rocky. And it can be any opinion, but there is a right opinion to have.
Yeah.
So
also, what's your favorite Rocky film?
Yeah.
Do you prefer Creed over Rocky? I don't know, but drop them in the comments. Also, let us know what you've been watching this week. Speaking of watching things this week, fellas. Well, actually, just James, because I don't think Michael watched anything.
Dude, I have not. I literally last night I watched finished season 2 of Daredevil.
Nice.
And yeah.
Okay,
so,
well then talk about season 2 of Daredevil.
Okay, yeah. So season 2 of Daredevil.
Daredevil.
I don't know if y'all remember last time I was talking about it, and I was like, honestly, I'm enjoying it more than I thought I would, just based on things that I heard of from season 2. And so I'm surprised at how much I'm enjoying it. I finished season 2 last night, and I totally understand what people were saying. It's definitely messier. I don't really like the stuff with the hand. And there's a particular character that I don't like what they did with him. It actually really frustrates me because they brought him in for one episode earlier in the show and it was great. And then they brought him back in and kind of just it feels like ham-fisted way to turn on a character. And so that was a little weird to me.
Hand-fisted way?
I don't think that's the expression.
Yeah, I started saying that. And I was like, wait a second. I think I'm an idiot.
But yeah, so anyway, ultimately, the hand stuff was a little bit too. It's just a little bit. I don't want to say lame, but it did feel out of place in the world of Daredevil. Even though I'm sure that's part of the comics and stuff, but in the world that they've created for the show, it feels a little bit silly. And I didn't feel like it was fleshed out. I really missed Fisk a ton this season. And so, yeah, ultimately good season for sure, especially the first 2/3 of it, but ended fine, but not great. So I am super pumped to start season 3 though.
Yeah, I stopped about halfway through season 2, and so I've always loved what I've remembered of season 2, and so it's
really good to what you've seen. It really is.
So I don't know. I've been tempted to just restart and go back to season 1 and go through because it's been years and years and years. So
it's worth it.
It's probably worth it for sure.
I haven't watched anything aside from
this is a sad week.
Yeah, I know. I've watched a few episodes of Batman the Animated Series. That's been my viewing.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I am still loving it. I've got 3 episodes left in season 2, and then that's when they transition from. It's basically everybody just calls it season 3. It moved from just being called Batman the Animated Series to the New Batman Adventures, but it's just season 3. But it is a new art style. So I've got 3 more episodes until that, and then I'm gonna watch. I think it's Batman Sub-Zero or something like that afterwards. But anyways, I'm enjoying that. But it's been a super slow viewing week.
Yeah, same here for the most part. I think the only thing I really watched that's worth noting is Mickey 17. I got to see that on the big screen, which I was like super hyped about. It's my first Bong Joon-ho film on the big screen. And just from the moment of its announcement, like having Robert Pattinson behind it and everything, I was like, yeah, I'm hyped for this. And I was expecting a very different film than what we got. So in terms of like being disappointed for my expectations, I think I was a little bit in some ways. At the same time, I kind of just let myself buy into what the film was. I ended up having a great time. I think at the very least, like, you can't deny that the cast is great, the direction is great, it looks visually phenomenal. Like even down to the visual effects, I was really impressed with. Because I was a little bit worried that it was going to be a little bit too VFX heavy just from the trailers, and it's not. But when the VFX are there, they look great. And it's got some incredible production design. So I think between all that, the world building, and then I'd say honestly, the story is the part that didn't hit quite as hard as I think it could have. But it's got a really weird structure, and I don't know if that's just because that's how the book is. So I can't really speak on if it's just that's how the novel is. But yeah, I thought it was really good. And I really want to rewatch it again. And if I can, I'd like to rewatch it in theaters just so I can like really like settle in on what I think of it. Because even now I'm still processing a lot of it. So yeah.
That sounds similar to Michael's got his DVD copy of Rocky in the background.
Yes, sir.
That sounds a lot of like what I've heard from it is a lot of people who are like, that was good, but not loving it the way I've seen a lot of people be like, listen, we loved reading the subtitles, make another Korean thriller. I like Snowpiercer for sure. I've heard Okja is most people are pretty mixed on Okja, and this one is also like on his lower end. And so to me, if the winning formula is movies in his native language, dude, I mean, Parasite is so unreal good. Memories of Murder is phenomenal, and Mother is like depressingly not talked about enough. That movie
super underrated.
So
yeah,
I do want to see it. I still want to go see it. I might try to see it Saturday evening. So
nice.
We'll
really
see.
Curious what you'll think of it. I don't think you'll enjoy it as much as I did, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Just go in not expecting his Korean films. Definitely. Like I haven't seen Snowpiercer, Okja, but go in expecting those kind of vibes because that's what everybody's kind of been saying.
Parasite was so good.
Yes.
Oh,
I need another Korean thriller from him, but apparently we're getting an animated film next, and I think it's going to be in Korean. But
interesting.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that. I think honestly, I really feel like Guillermo del Toro has like kind of set a new trend. I think actually Bong Joon-ho even like mentioned him in particular for why he wants to make an animated film.
Nice.
But yeah,
I think he just needs to go ahead and do a Disney live action remake that's his next career step.
Oh yeah, dude.
That would be inspired, honestly. Yeah. I'm kidding. Really quick, Jack says Severance. Damn, I can't believe I only have 2 episodes left.
I know. I still need to catch up on the latest episode. At a very long.
Oh, I did watch that this week as well.
Nice.
And James and I have made an agreement. Yeah. So James is going to start soon, and I am also going to start a rewatch of Twin Peaks, and I'll actually finish The Return as well. So that's our deal, and we're gonna start that soon.
Oh, heck yeah!
Everybody cares about that. I know.
Yeah.
I'm invested. I wanted to read some comments real quick because we've got a pretty active chat right now, which is awesome.
You guys are
We do.
going.
Yeah. We're trying to pop up. So like if not everybody's read, we're also trying, like, Drew's been good to like pop up comments on the screen. So if you're watching, you can see your comments up there. I'll go through a few real quick. This is whenever we just asked Rocky thoughts. Jack said Rocky Forever. It's Batman Forever, so you got the wrong franchise, actually. Curry said Rocky 1 clears, but Rocky 2 is strangely closer than you'd expect. And Gabe said Rocky 2 is actually my favorite, but I've only seen each of them once. Rocky 1 is my favorite, but I'm telling you, Rocky 2 is one of the greatest cinematic surprises I've ever experienced because I'd never heard of the sequels. I knew it was a franchise and I'd only heard of Rocky, and I watched Rocky 2 and I was like, holy crap, that was excellent. I did not think it was going to be excellent. It's so good. It's so freaking good. And then Jack said Rocky 3 has always been my sentimental favorite. Just Mr. T, you can't beat. Clubber Lang is probably my favorite, like, villain of the series. So I get it. And we've got a lot of just kind of back and forth. We've got some comments on Mickey 17. Stone also said he didn't, or not also, but he said he didn't really care for it, but couldn't deny the technicals and gave it a 6 out of 10. Curry loves Memories of Murder and says we should cover that. And that Curry said, James, what will you watch if I watch Twin Peaks? I can't keep making deals.
Deals on deals on deals.
Yeah. And then Stone said Rocky 1 is probably a top 10 film for me. When this ended, I was like, I need to reevaluate my ranked list because I love this movie so much.
Spoiler alert.
Dude, I made a spoiler post immediately. I was like, I don't care who to, like, this is I'm not going to pretend that I don't love this even for half a second. And Slasher Fred said the 6th movie feels like a return of the original movie because he had the young, tough girl all grown up. I like Rocky Balboa a lot, the movie. It's a worthy addition. So
I like the character a lot too.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
I'm excited to watch the rest of them. I feel like I've seen them all one time, but it's been so long. I just don't even remember hardly anything. So I'm actually really excited to go through these.
I was telling Drew before you joined us, like, whenever Rocky 1 ended, I was doing the whole, what time is it? What time do I get? Like, I was like about to just put Rocky 2 right on because I love Rocky 2 so much.
I didn't have the time, but I did have the desire. I was like, I wish I had time because I would put this on right now.
All right. Well, speaking of Rocky, let's go ahead and jump into that discussion.
Oh yeah, we're talking about that.
So, Rocky, is it the greatest sports movie ever? Yes. All right. Let's end the stream. Man, I mentioned it maybe in the last stream. I can't remember. On one of the streams, I know I had mentioned before, I grew up with the Rocky films. I watched them so many times as a kid. I even maybe had them on VHS. I can't remember. But I grew up with them, watched them a lot. They were, amongst the films like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and Indiana Jones for me that were just, I'd rewatch them yearly and very often. But I haven't watched any of them since I was a kid. It's been a very, very, very long time. So I went into this remembering like certain moments of the film, but like I've kind of forgotten a lot about it. And then I'm also going in with just the fact that I'm an adult now and I understand cinema way more than I ever did before. And so there's like a lot of things that I never noticed when I watched it as a kid, and I saw now, and it just gave me an even stronger appreciation for it. So it was really, really fun rewatching this for sure. But yeah, let's get some quick thoughts from you guys. So Michael, let's start with you.
Yeah, like I said, I hadn't seen these since I was a kid, and I do mean a kid. I feel like I was pretty. I don't even think I was a teenager yet, but if I was right there. And so I don't. It was essentially a first watch, even though a couple things were vaguely familiar, and I did not remember being that. I didn't remember the movie being that character driven. Like in my mind, Rocky's like, yeah, it's just cool. It's the boxing version of Remember the Titans or whatever. Like it's just like inspirational and all that, and that's cool. That's great. But it's a character piece. It like there's barely any fighting until the end, and the fighting is great. Like it's gripping boxing, and which I don't care about. I don't care about boxing in any way, but I cared about this because I cared about the character, because he's such an incredible character. And I was also surprised because I'd forgotten Sylvester Stallone can act his butt off when he tries. And I've seen, a lot of the movies I've seen him in are The Expendables and stuff like that. So while those are fun in their own right, they're not exactly known for being, none of those guys are known for being great actors, really. And so I never associate him with like the lead actor of a Best Picture winner, apparently. And so, I was surprised. I was really, really impressed with his range and his like subtleties in his acting, and how like, I mean, and it goes hand in hand with the writing. There's just things that they did that just made you understand and care about this guy who, has kind of just accepted mediocrity and made choices and done things, for money, just to kind of get by, because he's kind of just accepted / chosen that he's not going to live up to his full potential. And so he might as well do this. But he's also like this really kind soul at the same time. So it's hard to imagine this guy breaking someone's legs and like collecting money. And so, he's a really, really interesting, complex character. And not to mention the great love story it is as well with Adrian. And so, I have a ton more to say, but I gotta say, like at the end of the movie, I was like on the edge of my seat. I know we say that like that's an overused thing. I was literally on the edge of my seat with my hands on like this, like on my cheek, wondering what's gonna happen. And I actually was like crying a little bit during the boxing, not during like the hugging or anything like that. It was during the boxing when he just wouldn't freaking give up.
Yes.
I was like, there's like nothing more inspirational than this. And I was like, I was really, really affected by it. And I think that is that's one reason why I think this movie has stayed so long in our pop culture, because not only is it a well-written film, but it also touches at something that everybody can relate to and everybody can aspire to. And so I think this movie just kind of hits everything. It hits, it has everything.
It has it all.
But it does though. It hits what do I want in a great sports movie? This has everything and then plenty more beyond that. And so it's at least in the top 3. And I have to really consider, because I have a couple of strong contenders for what could be the best sports movie, but this is in there. I mean, this is like easily top 3, possibly 1. But Paulie, Jack says Paulie is the best side character. No contest. No. Paulie is the worst human alive. I really hate Paulie a lot. I kept calling him bad words today. But man, I love this movie so much. I can't wait to dive into it.
Yeah. So you mentioned writing, screenplay by Stallone also.
Wild.
This guy brought it.
Yeah. Also, I was gonna say real quick, it didn't just win Best Picture, but it also won Best Director and Best Editing.
Nice, good,
Yeah.
deserved.
Yes.
For me, Rocky was like, it was one where like I always knew about Rocky, but I didn't watch it until I was an adult. Like I had a cousin who was obsessed with Rocky. Like he loved Rocky. I had a Rocky poster. I played a Rocky video game, the Rocky video game all the time on the original
Nice.
Xbox. Like I felt like I knew of it and everything that surrounded it so well. And in my mind, I was kind of like Michael, where I'm like, it's just a this inspirational sports movie, kind of whatever. And in my mind, I'm like, like Rocky is like the watered down populist version of Raging Bull. Raging Bull is what the cinephiles like, and Rocky is whatever. They're little, let's toss one to like randos. I love Raging Bull, but I like Rocky more.
Oh shoot!
Yeah,
which I haven't seen that, but I know you, so
Raging Bull is phenomenal. But Rocky I just love Rocky so much. But like I said, I didn't watch it until I was an adult, and I think it was well, I can't remember what brought it on. But so my cousin, that same cousin who loved it, and like had the poster and everything, he found out. He was like, so I had mentioned like, I've never actually seen it. It was just in a conversation at like a family get together, and he was like, what? So he immediately like lent me his like Rocky movie collection. He's like, you gotta watch it, and I was like, okay.
DVD or Blu-ray?
It was DVD, Michael. And so.
Nice.
And so I was like, all right, you know what? I've never seen it. It's such a classic. And then I think I found out like, oh, it won Best Picture. Oh shoot, maybe it's a real movie. And so like I watched it, or me, my older brother, and my older brother like loves it. He after it ended, he's like, you see why I always like just had like a rubber ball around, like I'd drop it, like I'd bounce it everywhere. I was just being Rocky. Like that's what like brought that on. But so I watched it with my family, and like 15 minutes into it, and I was like, okay, so this is a real movie. Like this, and I was like, wait, hold on, we're like doing long oneers, walking down city streets with super like bare music, super naturalistic performances. I was like, is this like Scorsese? Like, what is it? Like, this just, I was not.
Wait, is this Raging Bull?
Yeah, I'm like, he's going up to to dock workers, threatening to break thumbs, and he's he's working as a collector and stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was not expecting this. And I'm like, wait, we opened with the fight, and it's also, I really love the way it opens with on like the mural, and then it down to the fight, and
yes,
and then I'm a big fan of like using opening credits to set a tone, and whenever he's just walking down the street, and it just in really classy like lettering, it just says Rocky, and then it's like going through everything while he's walking down. I'm like, yeah, this is a real movie. And as it went on, I was like, I was like, it was the kind of like shocked excitement of like I truly had no idea that this is like the movie that this was going to be. And like all of the scenes of him trying to like flirt with Adrian at the pet store and everything. Oof. And painful, but also super endearing.
Very endearing. Yeah.
Just, I was like, man, this is a real guy. This is a real character. Like, I was loving every minute of it. And then like when you've got the scene, and I'm sure we'll get to this in the review, like whenever he's like punching the door, yelling about this everything with Mickey going down the stairs, I was like, Stallone is amazing. He's so good. And when it ended, and like all of the movies end with like everybody rushing the ring and the dun, 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 like when it ends that way this first time, And then it's like everybody, all the voices are getting drowned out. Like the announcer is doing his thing, but the only thing you're hearing is the Adrian, Rocky, Adrian. It's like, I was like, this is so beautiful. And they hug in the ring, and then it ends on the still frame. And I'm like, I think I just found like a new favorite movie. Like I was so shocked at how much I absolutely loved this movie. So that the next day, my dad and I watched Rocky 2, 3, and 4.
Nice.
And then I went through Balboa and then watched Creed afterwards. And I was like, this is like a new favorite franchise. Who would have thought? So, after later on this week, I'm gonna probably watch Rocky 2 and just go through the franchise. And I haven't seen Creed 2 or 3. I loved Creed 1 so much. So I plan on just going through and finally watching Creed 2 and 3. But yeah, this movie in particular, I had no idea that I was going to love this as much as I did, but I freaking love this movie.
Yeah, and like when I was rewatching it for the stream, I kind of there's obviously like moments throughout the film of like downtime that I remembered, but I for some reason I thought the first film had a lot more boxing in it. But I love the way that it's literally just the beginning and the end of the film.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that makes the boxing scenes like hit even harder, having it open up and end with it. But like, man, I love like all these little moments throughout the film, and like interactions that Rocky has with like side characters that like sometimes don't even show up again. And it may not really have anything to do with like the plot itself. And like also the plot is like it's not even like a tradition. It's not even like traditional. Like it's you're still like in a way going from point A to point B, but it's very like loose in the way that the story is told.
It feels like life.
Yeah, it really does. It feels like a slice of life film in a lot of ways, with like an underlying plot beneath it, which I think is so awesome. But like, yeah, just I think what like really, really stands out for me is these little moments in the film. And we'll get into them in a little bit, but also I think it's really interesting, like this is kind of like the penultimate sports film, the penultimate like inspirational sports film. And I think it's a very inspiring film, 100%. But Rocky doesn't win in the end.
Isn't that like kind of cool?
Yeah.
Like
I was shocked.
No, yeah. I was surprised because every other movie would have ended and he would have won. But he kind of did.
Yeah.
He went the distance. Yeah.
Even though he doesn't win the fight, it still feels like triumphant and victorious. And I think that like just makes it even more inspiring. It's like, okay, like sports are all like built around like being competitive, and like, you got to be the best, you got to win. But I think it's like kind of beautiful that it's like this film is saying, honestly, you just got to try your best. And sometimes you don't win them all, and that's okay. He fought against the world champion, and he was like a nobody, except he actually was the Italian Stallion, which is pretty badass. But
it feels like it wins. It feels like he wins, even though he doesn't, because Apollo Creed, which I actually think I have something to say about him as a character too. He's not a villain really in this movie. He in a lot of ways actually just gives Rocky a huge opportunity. But he doesn't take him seriously. He thinks it's a show. And because of that, his ego is so large. And by the way, Carl Weathers is the most charming man.
He's so good
ever. He's so good when he's like, I want you. I want you. I was like, man. this man. I mean, I kind of hate you right now, but I also love you.
Yeah.
but he
when he comes out on that float, dude.
oh my gosh, I was like, oh wow, so this is what we're doing.
Yeah, I love it.
Also, the interaction that he has with that manager, and he's like, "Oh, I like this. This is American." And then he's like, I don't remember what he says. He says something like,
No.
"It's business" or
No,
something
he's
like
like,
that.
He says
it's
no,
smart.
it's smart.
Oh, it's smart. That's what it
Yeah.
was. Yeah, and I was
Yeah.
like, dude, that was
Yeah.
smooth.
Yeah, but like I think because of where Apollo Creed starts the match, just like in his perception and everyone else's perception, this is going to be an easy thing. It's a show, whatever. It's cute. But going the distance with Rocky, even though he technically won, he lost that night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Rocky did win in so many ways. And so like this is just the jumping point for his career, apparently, because there's more movies. But I think that's why it seems it's so well done because and usually I'm a sports guy. There are no moral victories. You win or you lose. Like you don't almost win and call it good. But in this movie, it felt like you did win because of everything with Apollo and how he didn't take him seriously. And I love the scenes where his like, I don't know if he's like his kind of trainer or whatever, but the trainer was watching Rocky train on the TV with the meat. And he was like, this guy's this guy's for real. I think this might not be a joke or whatever. And the way that he talked to him in the ring was like, this guy doesn't know this is a show.
He thinks it's a real fight.
He thinks it's a real fight. And I loved there's something really satisfying about that too. Just about like seeing this trainer, like his eyes are like, oh, this guy's for real. And I don't know, the way that it all happened was really satisfying. And I love that.
Yeah. I love that scene with him in the meat locker. I love that whole scene in general. Like whenever he's there, a part that makes me laugh is whenever like they start shooting and then you hear the camera guy go like, the greasy guy's in the back of the shot, and he has to like, as Paulie has to hide. So they redo it. But
Paulie.
I also like that scene was also just really cool because for the longest time that was Jack.
Why would you say that?
Dude, he didn't say that. Rocky said it, all right?
But I love that the way that scene is done because it's like it's our perspective, like that is our scene, it's our camera frame that we're looking at, and then it becomes the TV, and then we pull back from the TV, and then we've got like the camera is at the table where the business is being done, and the money is being counted, and like that's now our scene. But what was our scene before is still playing out on the TV. It's just in the background. You still see Rocky like in the locker and everything. I just thought that was really cool. But yeah, to me, one of the most satisfying moments of any movie ever is the first hit Rocky gets in the fight and Apollo goes down. They're
dude.
like, what?
His first time getting knocked down in his whole career. Like
that was so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I literally like fist pumped and like yelled.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
All
so
right,
satisfying. Like the boxing in the film, is surprisingly like really well done, and it feels pretty real. Like if you watch like an actual boxing match, like the way that they're fighting feels very realistic. I think like the only thing that's missing from it that like could just make it a little bit better is like if the punches had just a little bit more of like a sound effect to them and like you really like hear it. But like in terms of like feeling it visually, I feel like it does a really good job, especially when like you get the heavy punches in, like you just see the sweat like flying off of their face and body and everything, and it's very visceral at times.
Yeah, although even like the punches in boxing sound like more muted than you would think.
Yeah.
They're not like Indiana Jones punches, which are the loudest punches ever.
The greatest cinematic punches, if I'm being honest.
Yes.
They're great. They're almost more like whips.
Yeah, I think it's honestly intentional.
Yeah.
He
Oh
has a
yeah,
little-
I love it.
Yeah. Real quick, Slasher Fred shouted out Do the Right Thing, and I freaking love that movie. But Sylvester Stallone and Tally Shire are what's the word I'm looking for? They have like posters in the pizzeria that's like one of the main locations in Do the Right Thing.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Yeah, really, really fantastic film.
All right, so what do we wanting to talk about some characters? We want to where do we want to move?
Yeah, let's start off with talking about Rocky himself. I again, like we were mentioning earlier, Sylvester Stallone delivers a pretty amazing performance in this. And I like when we see characters kind of go through all of the emotions. You know, we see them happy, we see them sad, we see them angry, we see them just kind of be themselves. But I think one thing that like in Sylvester Stallone's performance and as the character of Rocky himself, I really love how awkward he is, like especially around Adrian. Like he just he like doesn't know what to say, and he just like starts rambling, and even with like other characters, sometimes he'll like not on the same level because he's not around Adrian, but he'll have like kind of a little bit of an awkwardness to him, or like maybe he'll like misinterpret like things that like people are saying and stuff like that. And I really like that about his character. I didn't remember that about him at all. I just kind of remembered Rocky as like, you know, the ideal, like inspiring, like underdog. And like he obviously is, but like just that level of awkwardness to him in just like day-to-day interactions just adds a really nice touch to his character. And I think Sylvester Stallone just nails that perfectly. Like I totally buy into him feeling awkward and antsy around Adrian.
Yeah, something that you pointed out in your review, Drew, is just how naturalistic everything feels, and there's so much like talking over other lines and stuff, and so much mumbling and like fumbling for words. And one of the things that just like made me be like, okay, like that, this is proof that like, to me, this is like one of the truly like great performances. Is I don't know how you like memorize the script because of how fast he talks and how much he mumbles and how much he repeats things. And I think none of it feels like a performance. Like he seems like such a real person. Like it's constant like, and then we could do that. I don't know. But then whenever we're doing that, you know what I mean? But it's like, I don't know. It's like, it just feels like so sometimes like just a painfully awkwardly real. But it's like there is to me and just like an uncritiquable level of like authenticity to his performance. I feel like where I'm like, this is just a dude trying so hard to like talk and like, and he's so flustered and nervous because he likes her. Just the constant like, and then we could do that, but I don't know. Like the amount, if you just count the amount of times he says, but I don't know, or you know what I mean. It's just like he'll say like 3 words, but I don't know. But we could do that. I don't, you know what I mean. But
Just do a
like,
drinking game.
yeah, dude, you'd be wasted.
Like,
and I love.
Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna end by saying like I love one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie is when he asks Adrian out through the closed door, and like he keeps being like, I don't know what to say. He's like, no, go talk to her, go talk. And he does this thing where he keeps like, he'll say something and then he'll look at Paulie so annoyed where he's like, and then maybe we could just like, it's so funny to me. And like, he's like making his like boxing fist at Paulie. Like, he's like, oh, just, but then, and he just continues like 100 words per 30 seconds just at her door. Like it is one of the most endearing scenes to me ever. And like, she opens it and has herself all composed and everything, and ends up being such a like just a sweet like ice skating date happens after this. But yeah, that scene of him at the door just like searching for something to say without being awkward, and like anytime he gets like half a sentence out, he like looks to Paulie to be like, is that right? Also, I'm mad at you. Also, what do I do? It's just like there's so like I feel like you've got so much you have to keep in your mind in order to like get all of that right on screen, to like convey his awkwardness, his annoyance with Paulie, but also his like, am I doing this right? Am I like I love that scene, and I love his performance in that scene so much.
Yeah. There's something that you pointed out about how like he has certain phrases that he kind of like repeats, and if you really pay attention to how people talk like in real life, how we talk on our podcasts and stuff like that, I know there's certain things that I say like all the time. Like I just have like a few phrases here and there that I'll repeat anytime I'm like in a conversation, and I know like it's just something that happens a lot in communication. And so like seeing Rocky have like those few phrases that he always says,
just to fill in a gap between other words.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's almost as if like his words are coming out faster than his thoughts, essentially, in some ways, or like he can't think of what to say next, so he like says something, and then he gets his next thought ready, and like it just again, it adds to like that authenticity, adds to the naturalistic dialogue, and I buy into these characters so much, and I think that like just the way that the film is shot too, like it has that like documentary style, like
that 70s grit, baby.
Yes, it has the 70s grit. It's got the grain, there's a lot of like handheld camera. Even like some of the like pans and the zooms don't feel like 100% perfectly smooth, but it adds like it adds some like character to it. So like sometimes when I'm watching it, I'm like, because of how great the performances are and because of the way it's shot, I'm like, man, I literally am just like living in Philly. Like I'm watching a documentary in Philly in the 70s, and it feels 100% authentic to me. So I don't know. I love that. That's one of the things of like the 70s films. I mentioned in my Letterboxd review that like I love that. You see it from like all of the like great filmmakers of that era. They just have a way of making you like really buy into the world, and like even like the film also like just uses very like natural lighting, and like all the nighttime scenes where you see like all the different street lights and building signs and stuff
and
like
the
that.
reflections.
It's so good, and especially because they're in Philly, like it's snowing or it's raining, and like so the like the ground is wet, and you see those reflections off the ground. It looks great, honestly. Like the way it looked in some of the nighttime scenes reminded me of like Michael Mann with like Thief and stuff like that. Like it's got that like very like gritty natural look to it, and you see those like neon greens and blues from the street signs, and it or from the street lights, and it, I don't know, it's a vibe.
Yeah, and I think something that adds to the realism too is the choice that they made musically in this movie. Obviously you have the big music that everyone knows, right, from the montage and stuff like that, and the very end. But I mean, that first 30 minutes of the movie, I like timed it. There were 16 minutes where there wasn't like the first 16 minutes of the movie, other than possibly like, I can't remember if there was opening credits or something. There may have been something in that time, but from the first actual shot of the movie through 16 minutes, there was not a note of music played. And then that was like a 10-second thing. And then after that, it was another 15 minutes or so. And it was just, and when it does play, it's just this like really light piano version of the theme that plays later. and it's like it's so freaking beautiful, and it's such a choice. And not only does it add to the it doesn't just add to the realism and the documentary kind of style feel of it there, but it also just, I feel like it just makes me like lean in a little bit.
Yeah.
And a lot of other movies would have done like, you know, B-roll of, you know, Philadelphia with like some kind of Philadelphia based song going on in the background or something like that. And, you know, and that's whatever, that's fine. But what a choice to just like, okay, we're here. And this is what the life is like for him. And the music.
It's our first 10 minutes of this like inspirational boxing movie. It's 10 minutes of walking on the street.
Yeah,
so
literally.
good.
And then like the first music you really do hear is like an a cappella group on the side of
which is cool.
And it was awesome.
You guys sound better over you.
They sounded great. And so I loved that choice. And honestly, the music is pretty sparse through the whole movie. So I love that choice, and I love when they do use it. It's insanely powerful. I think that piano version of the main theme is one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. And then the main big one with the horns is also like iconic. It's obvious, iconic for a reason. It's incredible. But like seeing it start at that move, you know, at his lowest point in the movie, it's like that theme is in there, but it's super weak, kind of like he is. And then by it's sad and somber, and it's kind of indicative of the place he's in. And then you hear that main theme as full as you ever hear it, as he's running up those steps, that, you know, not the first time, but the you know, the time when he actually makes it up, and he's like the iconic part where he's raising his hands. That is such powerful use of music. And it, again, they don't do it all through the movie. It's just in select spots, and it's so incredible. And so that's why I do say sometimes whenever I notice it in movies, sometimes the best music is no music.
Yeah.
And I think this movie is an amazing example of that. I never would have guessed that it would have been.
Yeah. Something you said that I really like feel is true for this is that idea of like using it so sparingly means that when it happens, you lean in, because like it obviously draws the question of like, well, we've just went 15 minutes without music, so why now? You know, it's like that kind of, it's the invitation to like something important happened. One of my favorite moments of like just a musical note at all after silence for so long is after he finally asks Adrian out and they're leaving the house and it's been quiet and they're walking away, and then just violins go dun dun, and like it's just this quiet little, and it's like they're on a date. Like we've spent like 30 minutes of this movie of knowing how like awkwardly longing he is for her, how much he wants to ask her out, and all of this, and you just have this couple of sweet little like, you know, just strums on a violin to kind of be like, something's happening, like a thing happened, you know. And it was like weirdly beautiful to me. I'm like, that was so nice. And there's like a 0% chance that moment would have felt as sweet as it did if the score was just constantly there. But because it wasn't, all of a sudden it's like the music is telling you that like, hey, a nice little moment just happened. And I love that.
Yeah. So freaking good. And then you also got the absolutely funky, fresh 70s.
Yeah, dude, so cool.
Man. That version of the theme, and there's two like funky versions of the theme. There's the one that you sent in the group earlier today. I can't remember what it's called. And then there's Reflections, and then there's another one called Butt Kiss. Whenever Butt Kiss is, I
love Butt Kiss.
Yes, whenever she brings him, and I love that scene and like just how happy he is.
Yeah, he's so sweet. He's just howling with them. Just
yeah.
Also, just while we're still on music, to talk about like the main theme though, like there are some themes to me that get so like there's so much exposure and saturation with them.
2001.
And it's you almost wonder, like, is this going to be able to have any like oomph in context now? It's like, what's, you know, and every now and then it really doesn't, where you're like, oh yeah, I'm sure this was great, but like,
yeah,
I've heard it so many times. To me, when you get that first shot of him running in the sweats, and you just hear the initial bump 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 bump, I'm just like,
I'm running out there with him. I don't care how cold it is.
Like, it is taking everything in me to not like just jump up and do the pose.
Yes.
And whenever it does that, like Tom Cruise side angle long take of him running by the harbor, and it is swelling, and they like the vocals are coming in, and that track is just soaring. I like, very few scenes get me as pumped as that scene. That is one of the all-time great scenes to me. And like when he reaches the top of those steps, like there's a reason, like why all three of our backgrounds, there's a reason why this is one of the most iconic shots ever.
Yes.
It is the culmination of like one of the most incredible sequences ever.
It's the montage.
Yeah,
like in movies. Like it's the one they all aspire to be.
Yeah.
And I love that one shot you were just talking about too, because like he was running fast, but he gets faster as the shot goes on. I don't know if you noticed, but he like in mid shot like picks up speed.
Yeah.
And it makes it even more cool and even more like powerful. It's like, okay, this guy's going for it right now.
And
I was gonna say, I think also to bring back the, you know, like naturalistic direction and everything, a lot of those montage scenes, like especially like all of the running scenes, if not all, most of them were filmed without permits. They were just filming on the streets, like guerrilla style filmmaking. So like, you know, all the people in the background, the cars moving, all that stuff, like that was like legit like stuff just happening. And it man, we need more filmmaking like that. Like I know there's a lot more regulations now and stuff, but like, man, when we had directors doing stuff like that, when we had freaking George Miller filming like absolutely dangerous car chases,
Werner Herzog literally picking locks to shoot in warehouses.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like, dude, we need to bring it back. That's what's that is exactly what Hollywood is missing right now.
Also, Jack points out something else, just a moment in that I love too, is whenever Rocky is running and like he's got a crowd with him, like there's just the excitement in the air, but he pulls away, where it's like, you know, nobody's keeping up with him right now. It's a cool moment too.
Yeah, I love the way that they kind of like remake that scene. Not in a derivative way, but in Creed, they like do something like very similar, and it's awesome. But yeah, this montage scene, like it's so freaking iconic, and it somehow like, you know, it somehow like just lives up to the name, I guess is the way I'm trying to put it.
Yeah, like Michael said it really well, of like it's the montage, you know, and that theme is like the theme. My sister was like making dinner for herself in the kitchen, which is like connected to the living room, and whenever the bum bum bum, she's like she like feigns like the run. It's like, you know what it means, you know. Like that, like you can't not hear it and just like not get freaking pumped out of your mind about it.
Can y'all? This might be the dumbest question ever. I just don't know, because I don't remember the movies. But after in the next movies, is Eye of the Tiger part of any of them?
That is number 3.
Yeah. So it is in a Rocky movie.
It was made for.
Thank God, because I could have swore it was in a Rocky movie.
Montage too. Yeah.
I would imagine that's like another all-time, you know, montage song, but. I just, in my mind, that was for years before I actually rewatched the movie, that was the song that played in that section. and I was just thinking of the wrong Rocky movie. But I'm glad I'm not crazy and just
It shows up
imagining
and it rules.
Okay, yeah. Okay, good. Okay, I'm not super crazy. I just forgot which Rocky movie it was.
Just a little crazy.
Just a little crazy.
But so like Stallone's performance is also obviously, as we talked about. What do y'all think about Rocky as a character?
Huge
Just like-
fan.
Huge.
Huge fan. Like as I said before, I love, you know, his awkwardness. And I love, like, you know, in some like he's honestly like just a really flawed character.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of grown complacent for where he's at in life. Like he's living in like a small studio apartment and it's not like super nice. And he's just kind of content with that.
Not even remotely.
Yeah. He's just content with that. He's, you know, not doing great work. He's not making a lot of money. He's just kind of scraping by. And even in boxing, he's like, I can't get anywhere. Like I'm just kind of stuck with where I'm at. And he kind of leaves it there.
He's content with beating what's the guy at the beginning?
Spider,
yeah. He's content with beating that guy who apparently is like a nobody. He's like, I did good, you're right, guys. I did good. And that's just, he's totally happy.
He's fine with that.
Yeah.
He loses his locker and, you know, he was like upset at first, but then he's just like, you know what? I don't even care.
Well, I do think though that like, I think he tries to tell himself and sometimes convince himself that he's like content with everything, but I don't think he really is.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
like there's that line, like he carries himself like he's like nothing, it don't bother me none. It don't like whenever Paulie, and I'm excited to talk about Paulie because I have a love-hate relationship with Paulie. There's a lot about like I kind of love Paulie too. But
from
that
this
scene
movie.
From this movie, yeah, I think he's boy is he flawed, deeply flawed. But I still can't help but kind of love him. But in that scene where he's almost like defending Rocky by being like you let him talk to you like that, blah blah blah, and he's like it don't bother him, it don't bother me, it doesn't, you know, it just doesn't matter. And then when he's walking out after saying goodbye to Adrian, he's like, hey, you know how I said all that stuff on TV didn't bother me? And she's like, yeah. And he just pauses for a bit and he's like, it did. And he just walks away.
Man, that scene
I'm
feels
like,
hard.
Oh, and I think that exchange represents Rocky that whole movie. Like, I think he's like, he's like, the problem is, I don't know. I think it's okay. It's I'm okay. Like, I think he's constantly telling himself that he's okay with everything. But I think that whole, like, how I said blah, 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 will actually, I think that's running in his mind the whole, like, when he loses his locker, it's like, he's like, but that's okay because, I must have lost $20 or blah, blah. He's like trying to find ways to justify why it shouldn't bother him. But like,
yeah, like it ultimately does, but he kind of is like, almost like avoiding it in a way.
Yeah. Like if as long as he says it doesn't matter to him, then that's just what he needs to get by.
Yeah.
And and then that's so good, dude. But then also, like, I love the aspect of him that could have easily, and maybe even some of his later characters would have played this differently. But like, I love that this like really big, muscular macho dude, Philadelphia guy, just in a lot of ways has walls up and is a typical man's man in a lot of ways, but he's also really refreshingly like okay with being vulnerable. And I think that's a really cool thing to see for men on the screen, because you got a man like freaking Rocky Balboa admitting that words hurt him.
Yeah.
You got him like trying his darndest to flirt and it is just not working, and it's nothing that he's doing. It's literally just she is so shy and doesn't know how to deal with it, but like all of his awkward words are just falling flat, and the guy is just putting himself out there.
Yeah.
Like, you want to go to a basketball game? No response. Anyway, birds, he's a refreshingly emotionally vulnerable male, and I think that's a really cool thing to see on the screen for someone like Rocky Balboa. And I think that's a good thing from the, like, just, you know, back from the 70s coming out, that wasn't always the case. And then, you know, even like people, I haven't seen the Rambo movies, but it feels like Rambo is kind of just an, you know, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know anything about the Rambo movies, but in my mind, he's basically just macho man all the way, and there's nothing emotional about him. I could be totally wrong.
Well, from what I've, just as a quick aside, from what I've heard, if we were to watch First Blood, it would be a similar Rocky experience. We're like, wait a second.
Okay, cool.
Because everything I've heard of, like, I've read reviews and they're like, me going into Rambo, can't wait to see some, you know, kick-A action, me leaving it. Why didn't anybody tell me that this was like a super emotional post-war Vietnam PTSD movie?
Shoot. Okay. Well, never mind. I take back what I just said then, because that I just made an assumption. Yeah. Maybe we shouldn't do that.
But I get what you're saying. The typical like
Chuck Norris
hero
kind of guy, you know,
Steven
Seagal. Yeah, exactly. This isn't that. And I think that's really refreshing in a movie like that. Could have easily just done that. You know, I feel like movie portrayals of Philly guys or New York guys from Queens or whatever, those are like the typical way to handle them, is just emotionally distant and removed. And that's fine for some characters, but I love that this is how they chose to go about this with Rocky, and it made his love story so powerful. And just the way that he eventually was like, she couldn't help it. Eventually she couldn't help but love him. And I think that's super sweet. And just a side note, Drew, we were talking about his not so nice apartment earlier. I thought it was so funny when number one, they show up in his apartment and it looks terrible. He didn't even remotely try to clean up, but like, he sits down on his couch. There's crap at all the way across his couch, and he's like, sit down on the couch. I'm like, he's like, you're not even gonna move.
He's like, it's a pretty nice couch.
I was like, that's a nice dude. You're not even gonna move all your crap.
He throws in his phrase like, it's a pretty nice couch. I don't know.
I don't know. I just love that so much. But
there's just so much depth to his character. I love, like, I think like with him being also emotionally vulnerable, he has a big heart.
Huge.
We see like we mentioned before, he's a softie. Like Buttkiss, man, he will die for that dog, you know. But also, he's got his freaking turtles, dude. Yeah, he's got Moby Dick, and I can't remember what were the other names.
Moby Dick is the fish, and then he's got Cuff and Link.
Cuff and Link, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, but it's like, you know, he loves animals. Like, bro, he's got some green flags, is what I'm trying to say.
He won't break that guy's thumb, you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
He can't bring himself to do it, which is also like, I mean, he's the muscle, and he's like okay, and he just leaves without doing that.
Dude, speaking of which, you know what surprised me in this movie? That I can't remember the name of the mob guy that he, or
Gazzo?
I kept waiting for the shoe to drop. He kept giving money, and I was like, dude, don't be taking that money. He's going to call it in at some point. Whenever you are at your lowest, he's going to be like, where's my money? And that never happened. And to the point where he's just in the crowd rooting for him at the end. I was like, that is unexpected. I did not see that coming.
And I kind of like that too. I like that we didn't have like a third act, like wrench thrown in of like, but there's this. I'm like, no, we've already got our conflict.
Because I was waiting for it. And it would have been too much. It would have been too much, I feel like. But
I think it still could have worked. Like, it still would have been enjoyable. But like, I love that they didn't do that. There's a lot of unconventional choices that they make. which goes against like the normal stereotypical like inspirational sports movies, like him not winning in the end but actually winning still, you know, like stuff like that. Like it just man, it hits different. I think
And
another thing,
sorry, God, you go ahead.
I was gonna say like one more thing that I have to kind of point out about his character. You know, the woman that he goes for, he doesn't go after her for like sex appeal and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like he's chasing after her because he like just genuinely likes her. Like he sees something in her. And I think that
gaps.
also
Fills
she fills
gaps.
gaps. We fill gaps. Yeah. Like I think that also just really speaks to his character. And I really like that a lot about him. Because again, he seems like he could be that, you know, stereotypical macho man.
Yeah.
But he's not.
Yeah.
And I think it shows a lot of maturity to his character. And I kind of just like that they have a sweet relationship, and it's nothing more than that, you know.
Yeah.
And he like, I love that scene when he goes to apologize her after he's like, you know, I can't fool around. No, nothing. And she's like, I'll go to the kitchen. And her like timid kind of way of being like, she's okay with it. You know, she loves Rocky, so she'll go and do that. And he immediately just feels that of like, dang it. And now Adrian is just going back to taking care of a guy without any reciprocation. And when he goes back over there just to like hug her with the thing, I'm like, oh man, I love them.
Yes, that's another. I forgot to bring that up. That goes right along with what I'm talking about. Like that is a guy who goes against the stereotype in this kind of movie, where it would just be like, yeah, you're the woman, go get me, you know, go fix dinner or whatever, and then not even think that, well, like Paulie, he would just be like Paulie. But he genuinely, he loves her so much, and he outwardly expresses it by getting up and apologizing and hugging her. And I think that's such a sweet, simple thing, but it's such a strong statement on his character. Yeah. And then my last thing on his character, being that way too, it is regarding Paulie. And I actually, at least this is how I interpreted it. You know, Paulie kept asking for the whole movie for Rocky to like put in a good word for him with Gazzo or whatever his name is. And the entire movie, Rocky didn't do it. And I kind of took that as he didn't want to, because not because of anything selfish, but because he wants to protect his friend Paulie.
Yeah.
And because he knows that I believe he knows within himself that he shouldn't even be doing this. He's settling doing this. You, my friend, should not be doing this either. You do not need to go down this road. And so I believe that he's protecting Paulie, and that's why. And that just speaks to another layer. He is such a loyal friend too, even when said friend does not deserve it. Honestly, doesn't deserve it.
He does. He does him and Adrian dirty, and he's still like, he doesn't shove him away.
Dude, whenever they're like, "What's this on the back of your robe?" and it's like, "What does that get anybody?" It's like, it gets him $3,000, and I get to keep the robe. like,
I love
dude,
it.
Rocky. Oh gosh, I love this guy.
Yeah.
But you've also got that line, like whenever Paulie keeps going on, and Rocky is finally like, "That's why I didn't set you up with Gazzo, because you got a mouth." I think there's also a sense of protecting him where it's like, Gazzo has no work ethic. Gazzo has, Paulie has no work ethic.
Right.
Paulie has no self-control. He will snap. He will do anything. I also think, like, you know, as nice as Gazzo seems to be to Rocky, he's also asking him to break people's thumbs and stuff. Like, this is a criminal enterprise.
He's a layered bad guy.
Yeah. And so I think Rocky just knows, dude, Gazzo and that world is going to eat you alive and spit you out, Paulie. You are going to, like, your mouth, your temper, your lack of self-control, you would be your own destruction if you took any steps down that.
Yeah.
But I just last thing on my part for Rocky, Drew, you mentioned like liking flawed characters, and for all of like the positives about Rocky, and I mean, I love this person so much. I just love him. He also is flawed, and I love the way that it presents his insecurity and his inability to really, like, you get the sense that he doesn't do a lot of like talking to girls and stuff. He did like there is this like the scene when he brings her into his apartment makes me uncomfy for a little bit.
Me too. Yeah.
Like honestly, like Adrian, stranger danger, like you there is a do but don't, but do but don't, like whenever the door is left open, because you're like, well, I love Rocky, but you're on a random street in Philadelphia with a giant boxer who is like not like perfectly socially adjusted. Like realistically, like women don't go through that door. You know, like do not do that. That is a smart decision to not do that. And she does, and he's trying he's trying so hard. But you all the whole time just watching that scene from her perspective. Like he immediately is like, oh, it's hot in here. Takes his sweater off, and he does the whole thing where he leans up and like has his whole body hanging over her and stuff. And he's trying to like, it doesn't act like oh, dude, he is some sort of horn dog who's about to do something awful. He's trying to be suave and cool and everything, but he's so socially like not aware of how things look and he does have his own like desires, obviously. Like he really does like her, that you're like, Adrian, you have every reason to be looking around here going like, I would like to let somebody know where I'm at. I would like to. And then whenever she tries to leave, it's like, don't go. And you've got this hulking mass, like with hand on the door. You're like, whoo, there's something about that. Like anytime a movie has that image of like a woman at a door and a giant mass of a man holding the door closed, you're like, oh gosh, I am nervous. I don't know what to think right now. And like, it's like, he does not understand, and he also is letting his own desire to begin a relationship with her, like in that moment, truly overrule like what she is trying to do and whatnot. And so like, to me, he's acting out of, again, it's all motivated through like a desire to do her right and to, you know, to be there. But he's acting pretty sketch, you know. He's pretty sketch in that scene. I do like whenever he's like, you don't have to kiss me back. And then I like, you know, the scene, because it's also like she is also her own flawed person, because like Paulie has just instilled this sense of like worthlessness in her. And she's almost like at a loss that anybody would like her. You get a sense of where it's like she almost can't believe she's being put on in a way. And so whenever it becomes clear to her, like I love that, like, you know, she then looks back up at him and initiates like they then just kiss together. And you get a sense of like, this is why Rocky fell in love with her. Like he puts it in his Rocky way of like, we each have gaps and we fill gaps. You get the sense of it's like two people with really damaged self-esteem who feel kind of out of place and at odds with like the world around them. And there's just something about like, she's surprised that, you know, he really likes her. And then it feels like he's so like overwhelmed and surprised whenever it's reciprocated eventually there. And then you just like, I think that's what makes them go on to be like just this perfect couple of like, they are people who are like healing each other. And I don't know. I love their relationship in this franchise so much.
And like, I think back to like the that scene being uncomfortable, I think what makes it, or what sets it apart from like a lot of other films of
Bond.
like this era. Yeah, I was gonna bring up Bond. Yeah, you can juxtapose this with Bond, where like this, feels intentionally uncomfortable. Like
it's aware of it.
yeah, it's very self-aware of that. You juxtapose that with Bond, where it's like, okay, Bond is aware of what he's doing. He's not socially inept. He is doing this stuff because he wants to and he can, and that's why he's doing it. That's his mindset.
And it like almost celebrates it.
And it doesn't do that here. Like, ultimately they end up kissing, but it feels earned after all of that. And it doesn't feel like the same kind of vibes that you get from when you're watching Bond. And so like, to me, this scene like actually ages really well. Like, it doesn't feel like it's aged poorly like Bond has, because there's some actual thought behind this scene. It's not just happening because macho man and blah blah blah.
Yeah, and great films are allowed to like make you feel uncomfortable. Like because I think a movie can be like, hey, we like this guy, right? I'm like, yeah, we all like him. He's like,
he's not perfect.
Yeah, this felt weird, right? Like, yeah, like, so it felt like you said it well, like the movie Bond is asking you to be like, yeah, that's what you wanted to do, right? And it's like, no, not in this situation, no.
Oh, your creepy man voice is weird. Yeah, that's what you wanted to do, right?
That's the Bond movie creepy voice.
That was good.
Oh, gosh.
Good points. I'm glad you guys brought up that scene. What's funny and actually really cool is I actually kind of forgot I did feel that way. But what I remember about that scene is that they end up kissing together. Like, they both choose to kiss each other. Yeah. And I remember the goofy interaction on the couch. That's what I remember about that scene, because I ultimately didn't leave the scene feeling gross, like feeling, like that was gross. Yeah. And so I actually kind of forgot about it. I'm glad y'all brought it up, because that's a great point.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I freaking love their relationship so much. And like the sequence right before then, when they're at the we're in there ice skating. I freaking love that. I love their whole conversation. He's still super awkward, and
7 minutes.
he's like so excited. I love how like just stupidly excited he is to like tell her all about boxing. And he's like, "Do you know what Southpaw is?" And like, "Oh yeah, so it like originated from this." And I'm like, man, that is me with my girlfriend when I'm talking about like film and stuff like that. And I'm just nerding out about stuff that she does not like fully understand. And it was just like super relatable. But man, like their conversation there I really love. And I also love that, like, it's not just one-sided. Like, it seems like that way because he's rambling on and on, but then like she starts like asking him questions. And she gets invested, and she's like, well, in my review, I quoted the line where Adrian says, "Why do you want to fight?" And then Rocky says, "Because I can't sing or dance." And it's kind of like playing for fun, but like he when he says it, like there's like a bit of earnestness to him, and
it's what he knows.
It's what he knows. And like I wrote in my review that, like, I don't know, I just kind of like noticed some like subtext of the film, and I'll tie it into like some other stuff too, but like the way that boxing is portrayed in the film, like, it's obviously like it's a popular sport, but like it's very brutal, and like you already know there's like people who like kind of look down on it because of that. And it's like, when he's talking about like being a boxer, he's like, the only people who want to fight are stupid people. He's like, I'm dumb, so that's why I like fighting. And
you even have Apollo Creed being like, be lawyers, carry briefcases, don't box.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but and that was like very realistic to that time of of boxing that like it really started, just like blowing up with Muhammad Ali and everything, there was a lot of pushback from people with the sport. So I really like the way that it's portrayed here, but I think in their conversation, like I wrote in my review that like I really feel like that line of him saying like, "Oh, I don't sing and dance," and like talking about all of this, it felt like Sylvester Stallone was like really like kind of just like taking a look at the American dream and like using that like look of like boxing and like just Rocky's lifestyle. Like he's kind of just like the working man. Like he's in the working class. He doesn't make a lot of money and stuff like that. And then you have Apollo Creed, who is the world champion, who's made it, and he even his whole reasoning for getting Rocky in the ring with him is like, this will inspire Americans. It's it's the underdog, and he's finally getting his chance and stuff like that. And I feel like there's like a lot of like subtle and non-subtle like subtext, kind of just like, hey, this is the American dream, and this is what it's like, and and I think like that aspect of the film really makes that ending so much more impactful when like Rocky makes it in the end. Even though he doesn't win, he still makes it, and he believes in himself more than he ever did before. And the feeling of him like feeling complacent, but deep down he's not, and in the end he realizes like, hey, like I can actually do this. I don't need to make excuses anymore. Man, it really hit hard for me.
It's one of our friends in the one of the chats we're all in pointed out that like Sylvester Stallone was kind of eking it out at the time, like barely scraping by, and then he like writes this, I think, Oscar nominated screenplay, and then obviously Oscar winning movie. It's amazing how much his life mimics his work,
Yeah.
Like the parallels between his story and the movie, it's almost kind of like it reminded me of like the Good Will Hunting thing, where it's just like Affleck and Damon they're just living their normal Boston lives and write this Oscar-winning screenplay, and then the screenplay itself is about a guy just living his normal Boston life, who then his genius is recognized. It's like good. It's funny how those two movies and backstories kind of parallel each other.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we should do that movie.
It's a great movie.
I would love to. It's awesome.
Good movie.
But yeah, it is funny how the thing that's like that's set up, like what you're saying is like you've got the whole like, oh, it's patriotic, it's on the country's birthday, it's all this, like it's presented as like it is just a money grab, and the great irony of the movie is that it ends up like the advantage is taken, and it turns out to be like Rocky becomes like the hero, and so it almost feels like it's flipping something on its head that was already flipping something on its head, and like Rocky is like, okay, fine, it'll be exactly what you say it's gonna be, only I'll do it in earnest.
And like also he was also kind of like a symbol for that fight too, to the crowd, to the audience, because of the boxing match, because like whenever he like starts like really like beating up Apollo Creed, when he's going for the punches on his ribs and stuff, you got the crowd cheering for him. People are like happy that he's like almost winning, almost knocking out Apollo Creed. So man, goes so freaking hard.
It really does. I think we got to talk about Apollo.
Yeah.
Like I feel like what a cool way to do an antagonist in a movie, because I really don't feel like he's a traditional villain, even though his motives were selfish. He doesn't have the feel of total evil.
He's an antagonist. He's not a villain.
Yeah, he's an antagonist, and he underestimates what he's doing, and he underestimates Rocky in every way. But like I said earlier, he also kind of inadvertently gives Rocky like the start of his awesome career, and but I do think that it's such a cool way to do that, because again, in a normal sports movie, there would have been the antagonist that was just the bad guy, and
Rocky Ford.
And that has its place. Maybe that's fine. I don't know, but I haven't seen it. Maybe I have seen it, but I don't remember it. And again, that's fine. That's fun sometimes. But I do appreciate this take. And again, Carl Weathers is like Lando Calrissian, kind of like his coolness and his charisma is just like infectious. So like when he's doing his fake trash talk with Rocky on the promotional tour, and like even at the beginning of the fight where it's like he's doing the playful showboating trash talk, but it's all for show. It's so like, or when he rides in there like with the United States stuff, all that stuff is like, it does make you cringe a little bit at times, but it's also like in the best way, because it's like, man, this guy did not take this seriously at all. I love the scene. I brought it up earlier. I love the scene where his trainer is watching the TV and Rocky is training just, I don't want to say the term that Jack said earlier, but just he's training on the meat.
That doesn't sound much better.
Doesn't sound much better. I can't say anything without it sounding worse. But he's like, but the way it looks on the TV is like, oh gosh, this guy is taking this for real. Where it's juxtaposed is Apollo's back is literally turned away from the TV, and he's like talking about the business angles of everything and just like how much money he's gonna make and all this. And he rides in like he does, completely assured, like he's winning this in 3. And even the first 2 rounds are just for show. And so I love the turn, like whenever I think Jack said earlier, when he gets hit the first time and falls for the first time, it's like, wait, what? And that turn right there, and you see it in his eyes, and he starts to get angrier. And when his trainer is yelling at him like, this guy doesn't know it's a show, he's coming to fight. Like I just love it. And at the end of the fight, when they're like, I don't want a rematch. Like, there's not going to be a rematch. All of that to me was just like, I don't know. He's such a cool character. And again, just a refreshing antagonist, a cool way to do it. Where I also like, I'm excited. I know that he's in more movies going forward. I'm excited to see that. I know, I don't know I have an inkling about stuff that happens with them, but I'm really curious how things unfold with them, and I'm really excited to see where that goes. And I think if you just have him as a big bad in this movie, I don't want that going forward, So.
Yeah, I don't want that going forward, which is why I'm not among the biggest Rocky IV fans.
Mm-hmm.
But Carl Weathers, start to finish, is perfection in this. Like I love everything they do with this character.
He's amazing.
But
not nearly as much to talk about from a depth perspective as Rocky, but I love what they do with him.
Yeah. Well, and I love that. Like, you're right. We're not, because since we're not dealing with like an action movie with like where people are killing each other and stuff. It is, he has no kind of revenge motivations or anything. It's literally like when he comes up with the idea, is like, if it can't be like a big champion kind of match, what can it be instead? Novelty. And what kind of novelty sells? The inspirational, patriotic novelty kind of, like, it's calculated business moves and stuff. And like, I'm with you. I love that as a as like just the place for a villain to be. And I love that and they're the last round and Rocky is like barely climbing up, and Apollo's he's got his fist raised up like he's won.
Yeah.
And then whenever they don't ring the bell and he turns around, I love the look in Carl Weathers' face when he's like,
yes,
gosh, dude, just stay down. Like he's so exasperated with this fight by the end of it. That yeah, I think it's a really effective choice as an antagonist.
Also, Rocky's line, "You stop this fight, I'll kill you."
Yeah.
And also when he asked them to cut his eye open.
Oh,
I don't even know what to say about that part. It was so disgusting.
Yeah.
The blood spraying everywhere.
Yeah, dude.
Oh
man.
What about Paulie?
Yeah, I was about to say, I think it's time to talk about Paulie.
Zero redeemable qualities in Paulie for me.
James, I'd like for you to talk about why you have a love-hate relationship with him.
It's not that he has all of these these positive qualities that aren't really being seen. It's just I feel bad for him for it. It feels like he's got a lot of personal problems that have only been worsened by the hand life dealt him. Like their parents don't seem to really be in the picture. It's not like they're young teenagers or anything, so it's not like they would rely on that. But it's just like he's working at a job that he's not satisfied with, and like this isn't like a criticism. This isn't a criticism of Burt Young. I'm not trying to be shallow because I think it's an intentional casting choice where you've got freaking Sylvester Stallone, the Italian stallion, this like handsome, tall, jacked out of his mind guy. And I think it's intentional that they cast his best friend as like a shorter, kind of like balding, overweight kind of guy. Like to me, that's obviously the choice and like something that you're meant to notice. And it feels like you get the sense of a guy who's like, man, like the deck that life dealt me is just not going to get me where I want to be in life. I feel like he's a guy who's clearly buried under like a mountain of insecurity. Yes, literally a mountain. But he's buried under like a mountain of insecurity. And is doing in his own way doing the Rocky thing of like wanting to of like creating lies to make it okay to himself, like lying to himself that he's providing for he's doing everything for Adrian and like he's just I don't know. There's something about his insecurity and his when he finally like Adrian is just yelling at him after he's had his massive blow up, and in just this kind of shrill, high pitched voice, he's like, "You're supposed to take care of me." Like I don't know. I just get the sense that like this is a guy who's been super hurt himself and has lied so much to himself that he kind of believes it and is battling massive amounts of insecurities about where he is in life. And just to feel better, like kind of, it's like he wants good things for Adrian, but at the same time doesn't, because if life isn't working out for Adrian, then they kind of get to like, in his mind, kind of like he gets to commiserate with her about it of like, look at what life's done for us. But in reality, like, even though he blames her problems on herself all the time. It's like, it's because you're stupid. It's because blah, blah, blah. He's also been he's projecting his own insecurities onto her. Half the time, I feel like every insult he throws at her is something he believes about himself. He just doesn't want to say it. And so I don't know. Like I look at a person like that, and I just get really sad. Like it makes me be like, dude, you need to go into like a financial counseling course. You need therapy. You need help. But
You
I
need to
just
learn how to handle your meat.
yes. But and also you can also tell.
I was about to say he seems pretty good at that already.
Yeah. Meat's on his mind often.
Yeah. But also you
Sorry,
can
Dave.
tell like he's clearly like he's not admitting it to himself or anybody, but he's also clearly like a struggling alcoholic. He's always got his bottle with him and he's sipping at it constantly, which itself is probably just a means of like numbing himself to whatever whatever kind of driven him to what seems like a genuine state of like depression he's in for most of the movie. So I don't know. To me, it's not so much that like there's all these things about him that are actually great that nobody talks about. It's just I look at him and I'm like, this guy needs real help, and I just feel so bad for him that I can't just exclusively hate him because I just feel so sad for like just the cards life probably dealt him and how he like everybody else, he probably feels like he's in a rut that he can't break out of, and his means of coping is trying to keep Adrian with him so he has somebody else instead of just being like, boy, my life sucks. He's got somebody else that he can be like, boy, look at what life did to us, kind of thing, just because he needs some kind of companionship or something.
And I think him kind of feeling like he can't get out of the rut that he's in is really shown when whenever Rocky, when he finds out like how much Rocky is going to be making for the fight, he's like immediately like, okay, let me get a piece of that. And like part of it, I think like obviously like some of it is jealousy for sure, but at the same time he's like, okay, he's my friend, and like like I want to be a part of him getting out of this. Like I think he like kind of sees Rocky and himself there, like, hey, like he's someone who also hasn't had life deal him in the best way, and he's kind of scraping by too. So like like part of him is like why is he getting this chance of a lifetime to get out of this rut? Like, why can't I be like that? So I don't know, I think there's like a lot of like sympathy in some ways to be had for his character, like,
well, because he's a well-written character. He's a well-written character. I would never deny that, but I don't feel sympathy for him. not really, not beyond the minimum amount. And well, that line, James, you brought up the line. You said you're supposed to be good to me, and the line after that Adrian says made me pump my fist because I was like, you go.
Oh,
and
same. Yeah, she needed
like,
to say everything she said.
Yeah. What do I owe you, Paulie? What do I owe you? I treat you good. I cook for you. I clean for you. I pick up your dirty clothes. I take care of you, Paulie. I don't owe you nothing. And you made me feel like a loser. I'm not a loser. And the first of all, her delivery there was incredible too. But the part that I feel like I was at that point, if we're going to feel sorry for him in the movie, I feel like it was around that point. And I was just like, no, he's just kind of the worst at every point. All of these characters have their own flaws, and all of these characters have bad hand dealt to them in some way or another, but none of them are the jerk that Paulie is. And and Paulie is just that. There's even the things, even the stuff that y'all are saying, like, yeah, that's sad. That's really sad. I don't care. Like, he's a jerk. And so maybe stuff will happen in future movies where I learn to love him. But based off of what I got in this one, I'm just like, no, Paulie's kind of the worst. It speaks to sheer will and loyalty that Rocky lets him hang around. Honestly,
yeah, I mean, he does not have the redeeming qualities that all the other characters in this have. But again, I just think he's such a, I don't know, I just think he's such a broken character that I can't help but like. It's like Frodo looking at Smeagol and being like,
no, I feel sorry for Smeagol.
Smeagol's a murderer.
Oh man.
But he wasn't always that way.
Yeah, until he was. I think like
Man, that's gonna be the intro for the podcast feed. Oh, man.
I'm trying to think of a comeback and I can't.
I
got nothing. No,
like I'm with you on the scene when she does her takedown. Like Adrian needed to say all of that.
Uh-huh.
She needed, and he needed somebody to like put him in a corner and shout that out, like shout that at him. All of that I'm agreed with. I just think like I don't know. I look at like a sad guy who's probably been effed up by life and has turned to just alcohol and has no self-esteem of his own and is just a sad, broken person.
He's not a murderer.
He's not a murderer that we know of. I don't know. I see a really sad, broken person.
We don't know what that meat is.
You know, that's you
Those
might
are
be onto
some
something
weird
there.
corpses if it's anything but cows.
Oh man.
But anyway, in that same scene too, though, oddly enough, where like my sympathy kind of for him also gets to its highest point, and I think most of it is because of his delivery of the line, "You're supposed to be good to me." Like, it's not what he does with his voice. It's not "You're supposed to be good to me." It's like this shrill. He sounds like a 6-year-old kid to me. He's
crying too.
Yeah,
So,
just the way he just shouts that, like I don't know. There's something about the person who is like the most awful. Like they're the most awful to the person that they most need and they're most afraid to lose and they secretly most love. And they're their own worst enemy when it comes to their relationship with that person. Like, I don't know. When you got a guy who's resentful for life because of the cards he's dealt and who's trying to numb himself with alcohol and has absolutely no sense of self-worth, like, it's just a bad mix to like put him in to have him and Adrian like live together. Like, he's gonna leech off of her and because of how much he needs her, and I think he really does love her a lot. And he is his own worst enemy when it comes to her, and so he needed to snap out of that. He needed Adrian to like shout at him and tell him that, finally like pull the wool out from over his eyes, as to say like, hey, guess what? Reality is I take care of you. That's reality. He needed that kick in the pants, but I still. Like whenever he is just like a sad, slumped over, balding man holding his alcohol with tears running down his eyes, I'm like, man, this guy needs help, man.
That he does need help.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying, and maybe it's just me. I just don't feel much sympathy. I don't. I'm sorry. But
I think it may just like I've had a pretty good life. I've had parents that helped me out. Like I never would have been like, my parents put me through college, and I've had so many safety nets and everything. I don't know what it's like being like scraping by in Brooklyn without any kind of safety net, and how easy it would be to become super bitter and alcoholic. And
yeah, that's fair. It's very fair. I guess I have a hard time connecting there, because it's still like, yeah, but your sister had the same upbringing, like, and you're taking this out on her, and one of you is still taking care of the other, she's still taking care of you, and you are just treating her like crap. One of these is worse than the other, and I have a hard time being sympathetic to it because of that. And then at the end of the movie, like, I don't feel a real growth for him other than like he made some money. Like I don't feel a real growth for him unless I'm just maybe I could be forgetting details that happened with him and Rocky, but it feels like Rocky's just like, no, I'm just helping my friend even though he doesn't really deserve it. And so it just doesn't feel, I don't feel growth for him even where I would love to see some growth in a character like that. And so wait and see, I guess.
So that's Paulie.
That's Paulie.
Paulie. Not a murderer. Loves his meat.
This is what we know.
Yep.
This is what we know.
Oh man. Well, I feel like honestly, I don't know how y'all are feeling, but I feel like we can, start wrapping things up pretty soon here. I feel like we've covered a lot of like great ground here.
Yeah.
This film is freaking amazing. So yeah, I don't know. Do you guys like have any like final thoughts that you want to say before we end the stream? Michael, we'll go with you first.
Final thoughts. Just reiterate. I love this movie so much. I think that I have to seriously consider. I need to do some like research on like some of the best sports movies of all time because I know there's some that I've seen that I'm probably forgetting. One of the ones that I know that I think is in the top is coming up. We're covering it next week potentially, I think. But I'm super pumped about that one. But like I feel like there's a couple other ones I'm forgetting. So, but this is just like soared to the top, and it's at least top 3 sports movies of all time. And I can't wait to watch. I might even watch the second one tonight. I might go for it. I just have to determine if I'm in a Daredevil mode or if I'm in Rocky mode. I don't know.
You're in Rocky mode.
We'll see.
I think you're in Rocky mode.
I don't know, man. I'm ready. I'm also just ready. When you get to the point of the show, like I keep hearing season 3 of Daredevil is incredible, and it's the last season, so I'm also kind of ready to like be done with it because I can say I finished Daredevil.
That's fair, but you just finished season 2, so just take a little tiny break and then get back into season 3.
Maybe, yeah, I might.
Yeah. What about you, James?
Yeah, I love this movie so much. It was such a high personal favorite of mine now, cemented on this rewatch. I think the fact that we can just sit down and talk about the characters for this long just shows how much depth there is to the script. To me, this is like the quintessential like populist kind of film where it is so artistically well done. Like we also just talked about the filmmaking, like its use of score, its kind of street level feel. It functions as a character drama more than anything for 90% of its runtime. Yeah. Beautifully made, beautifully written, beautifully acted, incredible score. And also your dad, your aunt, your grandpa, they all love it too. Like it's like, I don't know. Michael said it. It's got it all. It's got everything.
It does.
This movie's got everything.
It does. But it's just so well made. And it's got so much depth to it to fill out a 2-hour conversation. That I don't know. I love Rocky. He's one of my favorite movie characters ever. His relationship with Adrian is beautiful. Yeah, I think it's just such a phenomenal movie.
Yeah, I agree with both of y'all. I think, to bring it back to, is it the greatest sports movie ever? I think it might be. I think it is. I love everything down to its filmmaking, and I love the way that it is mostly a drama for like the majority of the runtime, because it's an interesting drama too. Oh,
we didn't talk about Mickey at all.
Oh God,
man, forgot about Mickey. We did talk about Mickey 17 at the beginning of the, of the stream.
We do a brief, very, very brief shout out to like the scene of him punching the door.
And
All
that
right,
was the best. That was the
shout it
best
out.
representation of Mickey too. That scene was beautifully acted by both of them.
Yeah. Mickey he's another character where I love that he's like, I won't be brief. I've been here before. Sorry, joke for last week.
Sorry.
I won't be
got it.
egregious. I love that he's got a real reason for not, for giving his locker away when he's like, you had a legit future and you chose to be like hired muscle for the mob. I love that he's got principles.
Mhm.
But even before that, it seems like he did neglect to notice Rocky, and Rocky's got real reason to be frustrated that now all of a sudden he wants to be his manager. And the way things just like the air is like everything's out in the open in that scene where Rocky's like, Stallone's performance there is so incredible when he's like, you say it stinks in here? Yeah, it does stink. It does. Like it's just yelling and punching his door as hard as he can. And I love emphasizing, like, as Mickey leaves, we're always hearing Rocky shouting in the background and whatnot. But I think Burgess Meredith is incredible as Mickey. I think his performance there is so good. This guy who everybody in this movie just feels like life didn't give them the shot they deserve, and he's become bitter, and I think he's wanting to seize on this financial opportunity, but he's also wanting to like carry somebody out of what everybody else is in to see Rocky actually make something of himself. And that silent that's another great artistic choice. Their silent moment of reconciliation is so
and that shot, man. Oh, so good.
Yeah. Mickey is another like phenomenal side character, phenomenally written and acted. And
I'm guessing he pops up later.
Oh yeah, the series also does great things with him. So
good.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. We talked about
this film really. This film really does have it all, dude.
Right.
But yeah, as far as me, my final thoughts. I don't really have much to add other than what we've already said. It's freaking amazing. And if you haven't watched Rocky before, you should totally do it because it's great. Or if you haven't seen the sequels, watch them because they're awesome. And Creed is awesome too. So
I will.
Yeah. Anyways, though, thank you for everyone who tuned in and for everyone who was engaging in the chat earlier. If you aren't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date when we're doing our streams. Next week, we'll be doing a review for Moneyball. And it's James and I's first time watching that. So I'm pretty
so
stoked
excited.
about it. I'm pumped. I don't really know anything about it other than it's one of your favorites. It's got Brad Pitt, and I know that it's like pretty well respected. So I'm excited for it, but I'm gonna be going in like just not really knowing anything about like the plot or anything like that. So.
Don't know any of the rest of the cast.
No,
I know one side. Yeah, well, I think he's probably a pretty prominent character, but I know another actor in it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I wonder who you're thinking, but yeah, don't look it up on IMDb or anything because even if you know one, there's a few good ones that just pop up and it's like, oh, cool,
nice.
Yeah. I like when that happens. But yeah, I'm excited to watch and review that. So that'll be next week. And then if you weren't here for the last stream, we started doing this thing where we're doing like a weekly rewind where you can kind of just talk about everything that you recently watched in the last week. Now that we're like just starting off the streams with just one highlight of our week, we kind of like talk about everything else there. So expect that post in the group. And if you're not in the group, it's Banter Fodder, a film and television discussion group on Facebook.
Film discussion.
It is a film discussion. We do that. We do that there.
We just talk about one film.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely join us there. And yeah, go support your local theaters. I don't really know what's playing in the theaters right now, but you know what? Mickey 17. Go watch Mickey 17. Support Bong Joon-ho. Even if you don't love the film, I think you'll be guaranteed an entertaining ride for sure. So yeah, we'll see y'all next week for Moneyball.
You can watch Minecraft, I think.
No. no watching Minecraft. All right.
You're hurting theaters if you watch Minecraft.
You are. You absolutely are. You're hurting the industry.
It looks so bad.
All right. Bye.
Bye.